Breaking news, Israel just bombed Russia and they've blown up a Russian supply line to Iran. And this supply line carries Russian oil, Russian weapons, etc. And Israel just blew them up. And Russia is preparing to go to war over this. Well, today, Israel has carried out their first attack onto the Caspian Sea. And according to reports, Israel, quote, targeted a supply corridor used by Russia to transport drones, ammunition, and other military equipment to Iran. Now, it is worth knowing that Russia is one of the biggest military equipment suppliers to Iran, and vice versa. Iran supplies Russia with their famous Shahed drones, and in return, Russia gives Iran helicopters and missiles and things like that. Well, Russia and Iran both border the Caspian Sea, and rather than sending this equipment by land, they send it through the sea, through a 600-mile-long corridor. Russia also has pipelines as part of this supply corridor, and so Israel might have bombed them too. Currently, we don't actually know whether Israel bombed ships which were transporting equipment, or whether they bombed these pipelines. The reports are quite vague. All we know is that Israel bombed one of them, or maybe both of them. However, because of how big a deal this is, because Israel has bombed Russian equipment, it suggests that the war might go on for longer. Specifically, in just the last day, Polymarket has predicted that the chance the war with Iran will end by the end of this month has dropped from 18% yesterday to 13% today. And that's because Russia has now been attacked in this war, making it far more likely that Russia will supply more and more equipment and intelligence to Iran to help them fight against Israel, meaning the war will go on for longer. Now, Russia has not officially issued a statement on this yet, even though their own equipment and transport corridor has been blown up. And so it's likely they will, and they'll probably officially just call for peace, as they normally do. But behind the scenes, they're going to be quite mad. A lot happens behind the scenes that we don't hear about. And so leave me a follow, because once we find out more, I'm going to keep you up to date on all of the global news, especially if Russia continues to help Iran. Some breaking news.
All right, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutation to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. Hunters like foreigners, from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in Hebrew, which means peace. So yeah, sometimes we see information, and then you know, sometimes like, I don't really believe it. Let me look up, second guess. This is what this guy is talking about. So I said, let me look it up. So I went to the Google. Israel attacked Russia. In March 2026, Russia accused Israel of targeting Russian interests in the Middle East and the Caspian Sea, specifically citing an airstrike near an RT News crew in Libya, which that was kind of crazy right there. The guy was just minding his business. He was just talking, reporting. A missile came flying his way. That's one. And strikes on Iran, Russia arms supply route in Caspian Sea. So the same thing the guy just said. These actions have heightened tension with Moscow calling the action unprovoked. So Israel, the gutter rat state that is Israel, is starting trouble all over the spectrum. And every time there's somebody talking about some sort of peace, some sort of de-escalation, ceasefire, these demons are amping it up. Now, if you can't be a fool when it comes to this whole thing, because there's a lot of small hat wearing motherfuckers in Russia as well. They run the world. So the Israelis are pushing or escalating this war. They're escalating every time, every single moment that they have, and people trying to die things down. They escalate it because they know America they own America. All right, so don't think that this thing is gonna anytime soon. It's gonna slow down. It's just gonna escalate, 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 and as everybody's looking over there, shit is gonna be taking place over here. So are we in Ezekiel 38th chapter? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Hey, we here. real quick, I can't go here instead. Proverbs 29:22 says, "An angry man striveth up." Oh, sorry, an angry man stirreth strife. The fierce man abideth in a transgression. So these mofos are stirring up strife. Proverbs 14:17 it says, "He that is so angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated." So this man, these people are foolish. I was watching the bishops and they was talking about it and how Benjamin, not a Jew, mainly him, calling the Iranians Amalekites, which I did the show because I seen that thing live. Was it live? No, I think it was around the time frame. Yeah, he was calling them the Iranians Amalekites. And why would he call them Amalekites? To justify what they're doing. While meanwhile, oh, I should have got that one. Meanwhile, you have um, the Israeli mayor of Tel Aviv. He was bitching and crying about what was happening over there. They're getting destroyed. They're getting annihilated. Matter of fact, let me get that video real quick. Check this out.
יש לזה מחיר, שמחיר להחלטה שלא לפנות את היישובים. יש לזה מחיר, ו... כן, והסיבה שזה מביא אותך ממש לדמעות ירון זה בגלל הפגיעה הקטלנית הבוקר בקיבוץ משגב עם ורצחו של פושקו שם, שהיה גם קרוב אליך, כמו אל רבים מחברי המערכת שלנו, ובכלל כל תושבי הגליל שהוא...
I mean, we don't have to listen to what they're saying because we don't understand this shit. So he was busy there crying about the whole situation. A situation that his government, his people have started. See, it's not fun when the rabbit got the gun, like they would say. So now everything that they was doing, people realizing everything they've been doing is foolish. And this foolishness has gotten them in a quagmire that they can't get out of. They even dragged the United States of America, who's about to send a lot of sons and daughters to the Middle East to go against a 1,000,000-man army. Like the guy, one of the podcasters I was listening to, which is true. A lot of people point out the obvious. Iran's strength wasn't their navy. It wasn't their air force neither. Their strength is their land. And despite the orange man claiming, "Oh, we want so much that we don't know what to do," or they destroyed, we obliterated them, and all this other shit, which you can't do. Despite all the things that they're saying, the fact of the matter is they're getting justly destroyed on that side. All right, and only reason why they're prolonging this thing, this so-called peace talk, which is not taking place, is all lies, so you can set up the military correctly, but to get slaughtered. And these people right here, they're not going to send their sons and daughters into the fray. They're not going to send them to the fire. So this whole thing right here is a one-sided thing, and it's like, oh, I gotta get that one. Oh, how can I forget that one? Revelation 20, and there's a reason why I was bringing this up because it basically tells you. All right, I started at 7, but the point is at 8. It says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, that 1,000-year period is when Jake was ruling. All right, Esau was losing. I'm what Gladiator 2 was showing right now. But around that time, well, this is supposed to take place. That's when Jake was ruling. What was it? The five good emperors or something like that. They call that period of time. Marcus Aurelius. There's another guy's name. I don't think he was that good if you look up the history. But there was five good emperors at that time that brought Rome back to his power seat, so to speak, and kept it strong in the east. All right, and then Jake was ruling modern Europe. Okay, Spain. No matter if there was Christians or Muslims, Jake was ruling until a period of time when these devils, these cave dwellers, were doing what? They got out of it. They got out of that cave-like mindset. Okay, really, when they were the Ottoman Turks, they took down Constantinople. If I'm saying it right, that Satan should be loose out of his prison, and he's being loose right now. All right. So from the time that they was in power, when they lost their power and they regained power, when they regained their power, what ended up happening? They was like a bat out of hell. All right, they were like a bat out of hell. They didn't disrupt everything. They colonized the whole world, and that's what you got. Stephen Miller, you got Trump's everybody that's under Trump's administration, from this guy Pete Hegseth as well. They talk as they were colonizers all over again, and they talk about those glorious days because they reliving those days. Okay, it says, and they shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Now, how did they do that? One, they set up the Jesuits, but sent up that picture. But overall, all the financing, the backing of the finances that was going around the world. And in all culture, I'm going to say it, I got to do it. All cultures around the world, the worst period of time is when they was dealing with the rats that wear small hats. All right. And the reason why I said it like that is because when you go into, just real quick, oh man, Japanese, um, well, it's not really the mask. Now, if you go, not the mask, I was watching something and it was breaking it down, and it's going to show you. So you see this devil, that wasn't by accident. That wasn't just because of folklore. This is the one. No, that's not the one. There's a particular one. I believe this is the one. The blue one right here. But there's another one. And this is the one. And it wasn't that art of the way it was done, it was the way it was designed, it was not by accident. There was a particular historical history behind it. So it happens is the rats that wear small hats. There was a part of that. What I mean by a part of it, for the bad dealings that they were doing around the world, or everywhere they went, people hated them. Everywhere they went, all right? They benefit you in the beginning, but overall, the end, I forgot, is that one, but there's another one that's more, it doesn't matter. They benefit you in the beginning, but at the end, they always reneged. Sounds familiar? All right. Matter of fact, hold on. I don't want to change the subject. I got to go back to the thing, but since that came in my mind, this is their doing. All right. Psalms 50. Hey, even how Russia, before it was Russia with the Soviet Union, when they got rid of the czars, what ended up happening? Who did it? It was them. The small hat wearing the rats that wear small hats. Okay? It says, no, not this one. 55. Psalms 55 and 16. No, 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. And we all know that what they did to Gad, Reuben, okay? How they got Gad and Reuben. And by them getting Gad and Reuben, that was the modern day dealings of the devil. Broke every treaty that you can ever imagine. Even to this day, they practice the same stunt. All right? Even to this day. When they call for a ceasefire, they're the first ones to shoot. First ones. They're the first one to call it, the first ones to break it. That's the same stunt that these people are trying to do. All right? It says, he have broken his covenant. His words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And this is a common trait with these people all over. And I'm talking about Esau, Edom, mainly Amalek. All right? Truly the covenant breakers. They truly break the covenants, any covenant that they have. All their business dealings, they're known for breaking it. So is it far fetched that these people would commit a crime as this? Absolutely not. Okay, and their reason could be like, oh, we have to cut off the supply to go to Iran, so we could take them out. And I believe I seen a post, but I heard about this before. Normally, when Russia makes an alliance with whomever, they make the alliance and make them sound an agreement, a covenant with them, and that covenant and agreement is basically a sign of protection, which they're about to do with Iran. Okay, they have business dealing with Iran, Persia, really. They do have that. They have business dealing with them, mutual business, but it seems like Persia's like, we don't need you yet, type shit. Even though that Russia and China is aiding them to bomb the shit out of America. They using Iran as a proxy. But soon there was like what I believe was another thing that said over 60 cargo planes from China that was going to Russia. So things about to heat up even more. And it says, and his words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And this is the MO, the operation of Esau. Going back to Revelation 20 and 8, it said, and it shall go to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, which is north, east, south, west. So no matter what empire, there was always a small ad dwelling. Well, think about it. They had a film, it was 1934. I don't know why. I think that's 1934. Called The Rothschilds. All right, black and white, showing you the history of them and how what's his name, the father, not the goddamn the devil's name. Well, I just call him Esau. How he told his 5 sons to go to all of Europe and to play both sides of the fences. Basically, to run everything. You think you just stop at Europe? No. That's why you have central banks all over. All right. So is it far fetched that they are solely responsible for all the upheaving and all the deception that's taking place in the earth? Absolutely not. What's it called? what do they call it, the Boxing War, which was the Opium War that who ran the ports, who ran the ports that was accepting or exchanging opiums. It was a small hat. The rats that wear small hats. All right. So Argentina did the show last night of uh, the UN meeting of U.S. the UN meeting stating that the transatlantic slave trade was the worst horrific thing that took place on the planet Earth, backing up the scriptures. One, and the three nations that disagreed with it or didn't want no reparations was United States of America, Babylon, obviously, Israel, and Argentina. Why Argentina? Because most of Argentina is the small hat wearing motherfuckers. They infiltrated Argentina long ago. All right. Why do you think Trump allowed, what was it, a couple billion of dollars, was it 80 billion or something, some shit like that, to go to Argentina? That wasn't by accident. All right. And those are the only three nations because they already knew, they already set up that anything that happens to that land, the land in the Middle East, the land that they stole, and they got to flee, they already got places to run to because they're not being accepted in anywhere in Europe. Same thing, history repeating itself. It says Gog and Magog, which is from Magog, which is the land of what? Russia, together, to gather them to the battle. Oh, to gather them together to the battle, a number of whom is as the sand of the sea, which is what? All the nations. This is what's happening right now. The million-man army that's sprung up and Persia, the reserves that they have, Babylon amping up how much soldiers is going. What is it? I believe Qatar said they're gonna back up Persia. All right. The Gulf states they're making their stance. So all the deception all throughout all these years is leading to this. All right. Which is what? Armageddon. Which Armageddon means mountains of troops. All right. Revelation 16:16, and it says, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And we always got to break this word down. Armageddon means mountain of troops. All right. Is the Hebrew word Har Magadwan. Har meaning mountain. Magad or Magad, multitude of troops. Gad means troops. So all this deception, everything that's taking place is because of these these rats that wear small hats. Okay. I think I got that from one of the bros or Elder Gad. You know, he called them the fish eaters. You know, is it all because of them? Now I go to Ezekiel 38. I still got to start on one. It says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, which is Russia, the chief prince, which is Russia, Raash Shar of Meshech, which is Moscow, and Tubal, and prophesied against him. So despite they're literally doing the will of the Lord. I mean, the Lord is backing them up. However, the Lord is setting them up. Okay? When Yahweh Shai made a statement, when the Pharisees and Sadducees was trying to downplay his miracles, and said that he got his power from Beelzebub, the Lord said, if Satan stand against himself, how can his kingdom stand? Or how, if a house divided against itself, how can the kingdom stand? How can the house stand? So these are the offsprings of Esau that took over all this real estate, this world. They in their blessing. Yet within their blessing, going back to them being loose from their prison, despite that, they always been warring with themselves. All right. That's why you had the British, the French, the Spaniards, the Dutch, Portuguese, all these, they was going warring. They was going colonizing places all over the planet Earth. Yet they was going to war with themselves. Especially here in the United States, we had the French, you had Spaniards, you had the British, right? All fighting for this land. That's Daniel, was it the 7th chapter? I can't remember specifically. Maybe it's Daniel 7:18. All right. No, is this it? Daniel 7th chapter? What's the 2nd chapter? I can't remember right now. No, it has to be the 7th chapter. But there was warring within themselves. They always been warring. So the Lord deliberately set up this man's adversary within themselves. In other words, despite if Persia had the ability to fight, defend themselves, Persia still had to go, Elam still had to go into to get help from who? Esau. But Edomites on the other side. So this is their arch rival. So when Babylon the Great goes down, all of Edom's power throughout the world goes down with him. Okay? That's the blessing. That's when the Lord said unto Peter, he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. Right? Because that was the curse that was upon him, Esau. All right? No matter what he does. Matter of fact, real quick. So this war is going to end all of Esau's power. Revelation 13:2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Now, why did it have a leopard for his head? The leopard represents Esau as a whole, their beginnings, which they always love to talk about, the Greeks, right? And a famous Greek by the name of Alexander, they call him the Great, but Alexander of Macedonia, right? And his feet were as the feet of a bear. So the head is what your beginning, your feet is your end. What is the representation of the bear? What we call Russia today. The animal symbol so happens to be a bear. All right. Oh, back to Alexander. His animal symbol that he wore through battle was a leopard. So the Bible got this whole thing that's going on down to a T. So from your beginning until your end is going to be owned by your own people. All right. It's as a and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, which go to the British, because during the British had a pivotal point in history of ruling. All right. After World War II, well, before World War II, they pretty much had the whole entire world. Okay. After World War II, they decided, all the European nations led by Britain, to allow America to have its dollar to be the dollar of the world. It says, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So the dragon was what? The Roman Empire. All right. That seat in great authority is what's being played out in the form of NATO, America, all right, which overall is that whole alliance. And the sole purpose of NATO was the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was to go against Gog and Magog, which is Russia. It says, and say, thus saith the, go back to Ezekiel 38 and 3, and say, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. So it gives us a clue that something happened to them, and he's going to bring them back to a certain state. And what was a pivotal point of Russia in power? It was when they were the Soviet Union. All right. And greatly to be feared. There was three superpowers after World War II, which the world doesn't. They always try to say it was two, but it was three, and they split it. And these three major nations split the formula for the atomic bomb, which was Britain, Russia, USSR, and USA. They all split that intelligence. They split the scientists, everything. So the Lord's going to bring Russia back to the Soviet Union's mindset. That's why the beast system, NATO, EU, was trying to surround Russia. All right, one by taking away their alliances and by setting up garrisons over there. And when it was Ukraine, said no, enough is enough. And they've been trapped in this ongoing war with Ukraine for a long period of time because the West wanted to keep them occupied for a long time. And by keeping them occupied, what ended up happening? They keep them occupied, and now they think that they could do the things that they're doing to Persia, but not realizing, and they realize, but not realizing, it doesn't matter what they do. This is prophecies that's taking place. It's and I will bring thee forth and all thy armies and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armory, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. It says Persia and Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. So significantly, why would the Lord especially put that? Now, when you look up the word, I just find that out too. Persia is nothing but is a Greek word. All right. But the connection never goes away between Persia and Russia. All right. Ethiopia and Libya as well. So, and all of them with the shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands in the house of Tumagar of the north quarters, all his bands, and many people with thee. Be prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled. So the great assembly, like it says in Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, is taking place. All right? An assembly of nations are coming together because of this particular war. It says, and be thou a guard unto them. So now they about to really enter the fray. They're really about to enter this thing. So we living in true prophecies right now. And it's beautiful. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel. So that's talking about modern day Israel. The modern day Israel, them being in that land, wasn't by accident. They had to fulfill a certain lot. The Lord did not want His people to go there. That's why those that were stuck in Demona or decide not to, even though they're the next generation, that's on them. Because the Lord loved them so much that He even warned them several times that this was going to happen. All right? He warned them. When you had the Israelis is kicking them out and so forth, all of a sudden, the Israelis wanted to accept them, accept, Israel, but mistreat them. So the Lord see all that. So hopefully they left. That's why I think them things are heating up too. All right, things are heating up in that land, especially Tel Aviv. You heard it. You seen the mayor crying like a little bitch. Now, well, it was all good when it was a smaller country and y'all was getting away with shit. Now you're crying. Tel Aviv is done, and the reason why Tel Aviv is the way it is now is because of the simple fact that they defile that land even beyond comprehension. The Lord is just cleaning it up now. It says, and gather it together out of the many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of nations, and they shall dwell safely of all of them. That's which is the future, which is a prophecy, because those people they're not safe. They're not the people. It says, and that shall ascend and come like a storm, that shall be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up into the land of the unwalled villages, and I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely. So the Lord is going to wipe out those people in that land. Then He's going to wipe this place out, and He's going to use Gog and Magog to do it. All right. Don't be surprised if the first missiles to hit over here when that time comes is going to be from over there. And they tell you this continuously in films and prophecy, all these things. All right. It says all of them dwelling without walls, which is a missile defense, like they call it the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome fell. But Trump is trying to establish the Golden Dome. The Golden Dome fell. It says and have neither bars nor gates. So if a village has no bars, no gates, no defenses, guess what? Then it's gonna be destroyed. All right, modern day, especially modern day weapons. There's no more what's it called? Damn, I just had the word in my head. But modern day weaponry, there's no uh, bars or anything like that to protect. You could shoot a missile from all sorts of part of the world. Okay, it says to take a spoiled, to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, upon the people that are gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle, goods, and dwell in the midst of the land. So that land which is occupied right now will be destroyed. All right, and these mofos, I want to get this real quick, are pushing They own the mines without them knowing. Proverbs 21:1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord is the dictator. He's the one that's putting in the minds of these small these rat hats. They wear rat hats, by the way, to do the things that they're doing. All of it. All right? Every last one. They're in a quagmire. They're not going to get out of this situation. Not at all. With that being said, and all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for that. That being said, shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.